Good to see you all this morning. And get yourselves settled. Start by put your feet on the floor and stretch yourselves out. Stretch up, stretch out, stretching, moving. Take a couple of good deep breaths. Bring yourself to being here in this moment. Reaching our heads so we're connected to the sky and our feet are connected to the ground. Being upright beings that we are. We'll start with a couple of announcements as per usual. I'd like you to be aware of this website, awaken101.us. Some of the readings, so you're getting readings from the book, but then you're also getting some other readings, things like questions as part of the hero's journey. Those kind of readings come from this book that's called Awaken 101. And Awaken 101 has its own website that I thought that you might like to know about so that you can explore it. At the top, you can see there are the choices of stepping stones, the book, the community. This is a way that you can engage with other people who are reading those same readings. So as you read a chapter, you can find that chapter of Awaken 101 under the stepping stones. And you can see how other people are engaging with the readings, different ways of being. And then there are places where you can enter into the conversation with these folks that are also reading this material from all over the world. So I thought that you might like to know about this. And also our upcoming extra credit movie happening on Thursday of this week. So that's available to you. And then we'll get started. Today is our first Unexam. So I want to just talk about our associations. What are your associations with exams? What's the connotation or the definition of exam for you? I'd love to hear from a couple of people. Lots of microphone engagement today. So what's your connotation, your association with exams? Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
So I usually associate exams with like a testing of knowledge, but also a lot of stress.
Okay.
Preparing for the exams.
Yeah.
And some, usually if it's multiple choice, a bit more stress, but if it's like short answer, where I can express and kind of explain more of my feelings, similarly to the journals, I find those to be less stressful.
Oh, I agree. That's a great comment. Thank you. Yes. What else? Ish.
I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. It's three things: pen, paper, and a lot of second guessing myself.
Yeah.
A lot. So.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. I hear that. Somebody else back there in the back row, Alana, if you want to head that way. Okay.
Usually like some big test that you have to study for that determines that's like a big portion of your grade.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So there's pressure, big portion of your grade. Depression. I hear that for sure. So the association with exams, so when you hear that today is our BiSci 3 Unexam, exams feel very solo, very solitary. It's like you, your pencil, the paper, the stress, the depression, the anxiety, the what kind of test is it. But for me, exam feels very solitary, like it's you and what you got, right? But there's a lot of knowledge in this room. There's a lot of experience in this room. And we're all in this process of learning metacognition together. So an Unexam in BiSci is a place, it's a stopping point of one section before we cruise into a different part of the course. But it's not solitary. There are nearly 500 people in this room. It's not solitary. Our experience isn't solitary. The answers that you have only build on and create and inspire other people to have other responses. People's experience is different than yours. So if we had an exam in here, it would be missing this whole idea of community that we've been building. So in this Unexam, this place where we've been practicing unlearning, it feels very fitting to have an Unexam so that we're all part of it. That's the way we're doing this, all of this work. So this is where our ancestors used to share stories and share learnings, share experiences, share wisdom and knowledge as they passed stories from generation to generation, or from one warrior to the next, or from one hunter to the next, from one gatherer to the next. And so by doing that, our species has continued. I was at 2 different campfires last week, and at both of them, different people said, man, there's just something about sitting around a fire. I just love being around a fire. And I have to believe that there's something in our history that connects us in this way. So unfortunately, I can't build a campfire here to share our stories around, but I want you to carry this kind of thought and this feeling of sharing around a campfire, with each other. So I'd like you to hold this spirit of this as we move forward. So we've experienced a lot of different things since the semester began, a lot of different ways of being. And so we're going to try to put some of that together throughout this Unexam class period. Is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. At this point in our lives and in our world, change is the only constant. There is so much going on in the world around us. And so in order to be flexible with our thoughts, to be unlearning and relearning and taking in new information and gathering what's old and moving it away, even Yoda says you must unlearn what you have learned. So these stories, these places, this quote, we must be willing to sit on the edge of mystery and unlearn what has helped guide us in the past but is no longer useful. So remembering back a number of classes where we were talking about the stories of the Romans and the Greeks and how it must have been challenging for those stories of those gods, the god of thunder and the god of lightning and the god of all of those unexplained things, and then they figured out how it was really happening, and then stories went away. It must be very challenging. This takes a lot of energy, this learning and unlearning and relearning. And so, what has it been for you this semester? What are you working on? What are we working on? What am I working on? We've been talking about what is science, what is environment, who are we as humans to be scientists, to be asking questions, to being curious, to being alive, to be fully ourselves. So bringing these pieces together of how we communicate with other people, how we see the world around us, how we see each other. So this is how we're going to do this. There will be a series of 4 questions over the course of this class, And I'll preface each question with a little anecdote or something, and then we'll get the microphones out, and I want to hear from you about what's been going on for you. So we did this a little earlier, thinking about the work of Bill Plotkin, each of the 4 cardinal directions, and how they could mean different parts of who we are. So the north is that place where we spend a lot of time feeling as though we need to fit in and be normal and conform and do the things we're supposed to do. And so there's this story of this farmer. He went out, he was wandering some of the forest around where his fields were. He was out for a walk, and he found this egg on the ground. And so he took this egg, took it back, he put it into the chicken coop with his chickens, and the chickens sat on it, and pretty soon it hatched. And the bird that came out of the egg then started following the chickens around. Birds become very quickly imprinted on those that are around. And so the bird followed the chickens around, doing what the chickens were doing. And the farmer came out and he saw that this bird that hatched out of the egg was an eagle. And yet there it was in the barnyard. It was following the chickens around, pecking at the ground, doing all the things, scratching and pecking, picking up grain, eating some other stuff, bugs and stuff. And so the eagle just grew in that enclosure with those chickens, doing what the chickens did. And one day, over top of the chicken coop, there was this eagle soaring. And that eagle, turned to his chickens friends and said, "Wow, what the heck is that? Like, that's amazing up there." And they said, "Yeah, that's Eagle. He's pretty amazing. Like, they soars over the land and looks." And they said, "Yeah, but we're just chickens. We're birds of the ground." And he said, "Okay." And he just kept pecking his way through life, being a chicken. So what can we learn from this story? How is it that we have learned through our education system? You have now, between kindergarten and 12th grade, you've spent about 16,000 hours in school. So from our traditional education system, from our culture, from your religious places, you've learned where you are now, and my experience is that it's often just being an eagle in the midst of the chicken, like you're just going to do all these things that everybody else is doing. So what's missing? What's missing if we live just in the north? So the way that it works now is I'd like you to take a moment of quiet for yourself to reflect on the question. And then when you're ready, I want to make sure that you're sitting next to somebody. If you're not, that's the first thing we'll do, is scoot closer so that you can talk to your partner. So the first thing you'll do is move. The second thing you'll do is reflect by yourself. The third thing you'll do is talk to your partner, and then we'll get the microphones out. What's missing if we live just in this way of conforming? Go. That'd be great. Yeah. So what's missing if we live in the north? Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
Since like the North is like conforming, if we like what we're missing from that is just like creative freedom and just finding our own individuality, because we're always in the mindset like we have to do what we're told and things like we don't have a chance to discover ourselves.
Yeah. How has that been true for you? Can I ask a follow-up question?
Can you
And
repeat that?
Yes. How has that been true for you? Can you give us an example? An I language story?
Well, like especially like back in like elementary and middle school, when like you were always like, oh, the cool kids wear like certain outfits and stuff and things like that. I know definitely, like elementary, middle school, and even probably in high school, like I always just like tried to fit in and like do what like everyone or what was considered the cool kids, like what they looked like, how they dressed, how they acted, and I didn't think I really like found myself until I came to college and just saw like how much more individuality is in each person and how it's more welcoming to be who you want to be here.
Sweet. Thank you. Nice. Let's see. Is there another microphone? Oh, where's another microphone? Okay. Go ahead.
You don't have as much wisdom if you're always living in the north, because when you go out of your comfort zone, you have the greater opportunity to make more mistakes, and even though mistakes suck, they can really be an eye-opening experience to how you can improve the way you live your life.
Can you say that in I language or give us an I language story?
When I first moved onto campus last year, there were a lot of crummy decisions I made during the first several weeks in terms of just particularly within my social life. But I've looked at them, I've gotten rid of the bad habits, I improved my own behavior, and I've surrounded myself with people who I enjoy spending time with more. So I have, I went out, ventured out on my own, did a lot of experimenting during those first several weeks, kind of trial and error, and once I figured out, okay, well, these things seem to work, I'm going to latch on to these habits and events more so. So that's how, essentially it led me to having a much better time. And had I not left my comfort zone, I would not have been able to, be where I am right now, which is a vast improvement.
Sweet. Feels good. Very good.
If we're just living in North, we're missing curiosity. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So is I language also like in middle school, early high school? I was just following the path that everyone else was following, and I didn't have like time even like to think about what I want to do, what I want to be.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Curiosity. Yeah. Yes.
I feel like living comfortable is just so easy sometimes for me. So I feel like if I'm able to just be like, okay, today I'm just gonna be like closed-minded and not really try to explore, I feel like that's so much easier. But then like the next day I'll change my attitude and be like, okay, I shouldn't do that. I should open my mind up, try to experience new things today.
Mm-hmm. Sweet. Yeah, so it can be a coming and going and moving through. Thank you. That's interesting. Yes.
I think we miss out on the importance of vulnerability as a human being. I think you can learn a lot about yourself if you just let yourself be vulnerable in situations. And I think that's really important to grow as a human being.
Mm-hmm. Have you experienced that?
Yeah. When I was in high school, it felt really difficult to do the things that I wanted to do without worrying about what people thought about me. And so when I came to college, I just decided to live in the vulnerability of doing what I wanted to do and try to worry about just how I felt about it. Yeah. And through that, I realized I had a lot more confidence in myself, and I could believe more in myself and what I wanted to do without worrying about what other people thought of me.
Oh, sweet. Yay. Excellent. Vulnerability is part of this. It's good.
I would say different perspectives. Like, I heard a quote where it was like, if you were to put your problems with like other people's problems, you would take yours back right away. Like, you wouldn't want to like trade your problems for like somebody else's problems. So I would say that, probably.
Yeah. I think there's wisdom in that. Thanks.
Camille and I were talking about how, like, us as humans, we're all so different. We're all so extraordinary. So when we tend to conform to, like, one thing, we're missing out on so many, like, great qualities and features about all these different people, like, all these different experiences and perspectives. So if we all choose to conform to the North, then we're missing out on all the extraordinary things that humans have to offer.
Woohoo! Agreed. Loud and clear. Thank you.
I think living in the North plays a big role in like who you surround yourself with, like friends or family, or just like the place that you're in. And if you conform yourself to just like one particular type of place or people, then you don't get to establish like your full potential in life.
Yeah. Have you experienced that? Can you tell us a story?
I mean, like with friends, my friends are like a very important part of my life, and I guess it took me a while to actually find the people who I like wanted to be around and just like who actually make me feel happy.
Yeah, sweet. Thank you. Appreciate that. Connections. Yes.
So I'm a psych student, and I see a lot of the time what living in the North causes is like masking and camouflaging.
Ooh.
So that can be like hiding something that you have, like maybe you're neurodivergent, or maybe it could just be hiding your interests. So like we say, who you surround yourself with and trying to fit in. And using an I statement, I have like minor tics and twitches. And so when you're in conversations with people, I sometimes will like not be listening because I'm trying to hide those. Because I have one that's like a yawn, and people think it's rude. So you just kind of have to like form and fit in to everyone's kind of like ideas of how to act.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ish.
There isn't creativity, the ability to adapt. I think like there isn't like you're not moving forward at all, even though it says you're moving in north. It's just uniform. Like everyone's in uniform. There isn't much personality coming from other people. Just I feel like you're just being ignorant, not being able to like adjust to yourself, and like accept the fact that changes is inevitable, that it's going to happen. So I just think it's just like a negative connotation to yourself. Being able to take in new concepts and new abilities to like it's just to improve in general.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I think that some of that is going to come in our other directions, like what you're talking about. So we'll move on to the next direction. Questioning, awakening, seeing with new eyes, self-discovery. So this is a lot of what I think that I've heard from students is what's happening in BiSci 3. I know it's what has happened for me. What continues to happen for me is asking questions and discovering new things about myself and the world around me and other people. And so when you see these statements of seeing college with new eyes, seeing questions with new eyes, seeing the people around you with new eyes, seeing your culture with new eyes, seeing science and religion, science or religion, however you'd like to read that, with new eyes, seeing yourself and your life with new eyes. What I'd like you to do is pick the one of those that jumps out to you for whatever reason. Take a moment to reflect on that, if you want to jot down some notes or just take a quiet moment of reflection. And then talk to your neighbor, share what you thought about, and then we'll do the microphones again. Thank you. You might want to notice what happens in your body when you read those. If there's an opening.
at that.
Okay. Some folks we haven't heard from yet. Yes.
Okay, so I saw the things that stood out to me the most were the people around you, like seeing those people with new eyes, and also seeing yourself with new eyes, because personally I feel like a lot of people try to avoid that because of the feeling they'll get when they finally realize like the people around them and also like their bad habits, because it can get very lonely. And like personally, I think I avoided seeing myself with new eyes and like seeing my friends that I had, like let's say in high school or like the beginning of college. I kind of avoided that because I didn't want to feel lonely, but now like I'm very comfortable with who I am and like the friends I've made now because of those things that I realized in the past. So yeah.
That's big. Thank you for sharing. Liv, would you just come up a couple rows? Thank you.
One question that stood out to me was seeing questions with new eyes, and I feel like this really stood out to me because in this class we've talked a lot about learning and unlearning, and we've done a lot of question asking, and I feel like I've gone through my day-to-day life just kind of not questioning things, going through the motions, and I feel like this class has pushed me to ask more questions in my day-to-day life. So yeah, that's what I thought about.
Yeah, thank you. Glad to hear that. Yes.
I feel like based on what we saw about the North and the whole being on our comfort zone, I feel the East is kind of like a process. Moving from North to East is just like East is more like seeing stuff with your like new eyes and getting comfortable with new stuff. So I think it's looking like a process, and
Ooh, I like that.
And yeah.
Yeah, thank you. It's a change. Yes.
So seeing the people around you with new eyes, I kind of thought about that. You might think like seeing somebody's attitude that, oh, like they're mean or however they are, but if you actually look at them with new eyes, or if you think differently, you know, you could see another side of them. Maybe they're like that because they're going through something. So we should always consider perspectives.
Ooh.
I feel like everything in life has two sides to it.
Yeah,
And every story has two sides to it.
Yeah, at least two sides. Thank you. Yes. That's beautiful. Thinking from another perspective.
Hi. So I guess this kind of has to do with the people around me and also myself. Through the journals, I kind of realized I still have a lot of animosity and dissonance about things that may have happened to me in the past. And I felt like I held this anger towards people, but I kind of realized that that was an easy feeling to feel. It's easy to feel angry, and it's easy to feel sad about things. It's a lot harder to be kind to yourself and to be kind to the other people that did these things to you.
Yeah.
And there's a reason that people do things, and there's a reason that people act the way that they do. And it's a lot harder to forgive and to be kind, but in the end, it makes your life a lot easier. So that's kind of something I realized through my journals.
Yahoo. Thank you for sharing. That's lovely. One more.
So the one that I chose was seeing the people around you with new eyes. And I kind of realized that, well, I get overwhelmed with all my own problems. Kind of sounds selfish, but I'm like focused on my life. This is what I want to do, my goals. And sometimes you forget how everyone around you has their own problems, everything going on with them. And when I really think about that, I feel like it makes me feel better in realizing that you're not alone and that everyone else is on their own path or journey to get to where they want to be. So when you take a look at everyone in that way, you just realize that it's like okay to be where you are.
Yeah, thank you, for sure. We're all in this together. Yes.
I feel like the one that stood out to me would be college with new eyes, just because, like, last year moving out of the dorm, like coming to this year, moving out of the dorms, living on your own more in like a house or an apartment, it's a whole new perspective of it and like sort of a whole new type of individuality from already what you got moving in from high school to college. So that was the one that stood out to me.
Yeah, good. I'm glad that you've had that experience. It's great. Thank you. So we'll continue, just sort of carry these thoughts around as we move then down into the south. Oh, here was the question. So into the south, it's the place where we connect. It's the place, the south, where we can be and realize that we are wild animals, right? We have all of the capacity to be, actually, if we're fully in our human being, then we are animal, right? Our indigenous self. So can you access your innate wildness? You know, you might want to consider, how playful are you? How sensuous are you? How instinctive? Do you listen to your intuition? How spontaneous are you? Have you ever given yourself permission to howl at the moon? Or to sing out loud? To swim naked in a rushing stream? These are ways that we can express ourselves, to sleep under the stars, to sit by that campfire and really feel, to cry publicly. So if not, then I suggest that you might be failing to use all of your human equipment, all of the things that make you unabashedly human. I'd like you to take in this video.
Whoa, that's a full rainbow all the way. Double rainbow. Oh my God. It's a double rainbow all the way. Whoa, that's so intense. Whoa, man. Wow. Whoa. Whoa. Whoa! Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! Woo! Oh my! Wow! Woo! Yeah! Oh my! Oh my! Oh my God! Look at that! It's starting to even look like a triple rainbow. Oh my God, it's full on. Double rainbow all the way across the sky. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh God. What does this mean? Oh. Oh my God. Oh. Oh God. It's so bright. Oh my God, it's so bright and vivid. Oh! 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 It's so beautiful.
He was not on drugs that day. Right. So that's his real self. Yosemite Bear, he lived on the edge of Yosemite National Park, and that was the scene from his home, which was a trailer, like a rundown, broken down trailer on the edge of that canyon. You can look it up, the double rainbow guy. That's really all you have to Google to find him. But that's what it means, like being that full, joyful self. So I want you to reflect on this sense of freedom, of being able to be so full of being yourself. What would that be like? So take a minute to reflect and then talk to your neighbor. So what would that be like? What would you choose to do if you felt so free?
I think that this would have to be a situation where we didn't care about society's norms and what other people thought about us and opinions.
And so what would you do?
I don't know.
Ooh, I want to
It's hard
know.
answer.
Next time.
Next time.
Yeah, think about it. Come let me know. So if you were able to let go of the societal norms, what would you do? Yes.
I think that.
I'm sorry, where are you first? Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think that being yourself doesn't have to be like that guy, like in the middle of nowhere or like howling at the moon. Like, I feel like I'm pretty true to myself, but I still don't want to do any of those things. So I don't think that, you have to be super different from everyone else to be yourself.
No, absolutely not. Just as long as you're feeling that freedom and able to play and create the way that you want to. Yeah, it doesn't have to be that weird, right? Thank you. Yes, yeah.
This is something that, like, a few months and years ago, like, I would have never even thought about. I would have been like, that is so strange, like, I could never do anything like that. But lately I've been surrounding myself with people who are on a similar journey as me, and I feel much more comfortable, like, letting go and being my full self. And we, like, scream at the top of mountains, and we just, like, jump into any water that we see, and we sing when we're walking, and it's been great, and it's really cool to be your full self with people who don't judge you.
Yeah, thankful for that, right? Thank you. Yes.
I think if I were to be my full self, I would do the things that I want to do and not let others' opinions of just what they would think, like, hold me back. And I think that a societal norm of just, like, politeness and being respectful and being seen as, like, nice a lot of the times makes us feel like we have to please other people. And I think for me, if I kind of let go of that and, like, spoke up when something didn't necessarily make me happy or something, like, upsets me, I think I would be a lot, like, happier and more free.
Sweet. I can't wait to hear how it goes.
I was definitely, as a child, like, growing up, not even just a child, most of my life, I was like this. I didn't really care what most people thought, and I was free to be crazy, and I was, and it was great. Like, I was happy, but definitely society does pressure you to like calm down, and like that's, I mean, I like being calm too now, but it was definitely a big change going from being crazy to not being crazy.
So maybe, are you hinting at the idea there might be a middle ground?
I think there's not a middle ground, but there is a spectrum, and you're
Ooh.
free to slide back and forth along the spectrum as much
I
as you
like
want.
that. Thank you. That's lovely. Yes.
Yeah, so the time where I notice that I'm always my full self is when I'm driving in a car. I'm just blasting the music, jamming out, just having the time of my life. And like I don't care what anyone around me is like thinking about me or anything like that. And it always feels like amazing. So like that's the time where I could be my full self.
Love it. Fantastic. Yes.
So I definitely started being like more my true self. Like I would do bright makeup, I would like wear bright clothes. But I know like one thing that I would do like when I'm like most true self. I would like wear the fanciest clothes, do like the funnest makeup and like the hairstyle, whatever. And I would go in the rain and I would dance in the rain.
Oh, I love it. Great. As long as that's what feels right for you, yes, that's great. So West, we'll do one more.
Hi. I think that being able to be so full of yourself, it's very joyful and very comforting. I have a story of this past Friday. Personally, I love sunsets, and I was at this little farm, and we were all inside at this market, and we came outside, and the sunset was gorgeous. It looked like the sky was on fire. It was full of bright and colorful clouds. And I was just so excited, and I ran over to the edge, and all of my friends ran with me, and everybody was all excited, and I felt so comforted that they all wanted to experience the same thing and were experiencing it in the same way that I was. So to be able to be like that, it just made me feel so full of myself, and I was so grateful to have people that experienced that with me.
Oh, love it. Thank you. It was a gorgeous sunset Friday. My gosh. All right, so we have one more direction. The West. The West, transformation, integration, and discovery. So it's this idea that we have this soulful side of ourselves to give to the world as well, and to make us feel very complete. It's unique to us, like finding our way to make true meaning and purpose of our own lives. And so the question I want to ask you related to that is, how might you bring more of your love and your hope into the world? Talk amongst yourselves. Okay. Anyone care to speak to this? Direction of the West. Thank you.
The first thing that came to my mind was bring a baby into the world.
Oh, yeah.
I know that's the only way to like bring more of your love and hope into the world.
I appreciate you saying that. Yeah. Parenting is hard, but there's a lot of joy in that, for sure. Thank you.
I, for the past year, have liked to live by the mentality of it takes 3 seconds to make someone's day, so why not do it?
Oh.
And so when I'm on the sidewalk and I see someone and it's as simple as I like their jacket, like why keep that to myself when it can make them happier?
Oh.
So I tell them, I like your jacket, and maybe that could have made their day, like a really bad day, so much better for them.
Yeah, thank you. 3 seconds. Even less sometimes. Thank you. Yeah.
Before I came to college, my dad told me you can't be a bright light with diminished character.
Oh.
So to bring more love and hope into the world, you can't dumb yourself down and you can't, quote, diminish your character to please people. You need to be who you are and trust that people accept you for who you are, and you can be a bright light to people by being genuine.
Yeah, thank you. Your love and hope.
So I feel like most people these days like judge each other for some reason, and if we can all be selfless and love each other and just love each other for who we are instead of these like societal norms and judgments.
Yeah, thank you. It's very beautiful. Last one, and then I'll wrap up. Make sure you're listening to your friends. Yes.
I feel like you just gotta treat others the way you want to be treated, because like it's pretty self-explanatory.
Pretty self-explanatory. It doesn't, just makes a lot of sense. Thank you. So these are questions that you can continue to just consider, how to bring yourself into this balance of north, south, east, and west. In order to be our full selves, we can represent these things. We can be environment, and we can be scientists, and we can be our true selves and make this world a better place for us and for others. Mary Oliver, my favorite poet, What We Believe We Become, she says, listen, are you breathing just a little and calling it a life? So for this week, your pack-back question, you're going to make up your own. Create your own prompt related to your BiSci 3 experience so far. Ask yourself a really good question. Find a quote that makes you ponder something. And I can't wait to read them. Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you.